Good evening, Laura Donnelly here with Dancing with Ease, Body Brain Balance. And it is day 216 of Strange and Interesting Times. I'm kind of thinking these might be just strange and stranger times, and they might be getting a little boring and less interesting, but they are what they are. So we are here. And today I was going to talk about rebalancing. And this whole idea that it's not about staying in balance. It's not about staying anyway. Hey, Mary, so great to see you. It's about this thing people call resilience, which is getting back into balance after you got off balance. It's about noticing that you got off balance more and more quickly so that you can move back to being in balance more quickly. So how do we know we're out of balance? Well, the usual and most identifiable way is some kind of pain. And this can be physical pain, which indicates that your body is out of balance. But also you can have a lot of stress caused by how you're thinking that can give you indigestion or a bad gut. Your stomach and your insides often react to what you're thinking about. And it can create a unharmonious flow through your system. Or, you can have food poisoning, and that's an out of balance thing. And your body pretty much quickly recovers from that. It's not very pleasant rebalancing, but it gets the job done. So also you can have a mental imbalance. You can be in a situation. I was in this kind of a situation once, not too long ago, and I'm so glad to be out of it. But it was a situation in which somebody would tell you something, and you would begin to do something and act on that statement, and then they would change. So that whatever direction I was going in was suddenly the wrong direction because they had changed their mind or their idea of what they wanted, or they maybe forgot they sent me down this other path, or more likely they sent me down that other path on purpose, hoping that I would trip and fall. And when I didn't trip and fall, then they changed the path and said, oh, you're going the wrong way. You're doing the wrong thing. You're not. And, then this happened again. Then I change again. Then this happened again. And I change again. Then this happened again. Then I finally go to my supervisor, who was this other person's supervisor also. And I said, hey, this is frustrating and difficult and challenging. And, I've been speaking the English language for years. Now, I will tell you that in my mind, English is my second language. And that my first language is pictures and ideas. And so, but still, I did good in school. I figured out how to talk. I figured out how to use words, mostly like other people use words. And so the fact that I couldn't understand or figure out what this person wanted. And my supervisor said, well, here's what I foresee, is that no matter what you do, she will change and that this will be a problem. And as an effective academic administrator, he, of course, did nothing, even though he was the chief person. Whatever. But when that started happening, I started looking at what was happening. And I had my point of view. And then there was this other narrative. And this other narrative was pretty crazy. Like this person would call in 3 adults to talk to one student, like one student under 20 years old. That's an overkill. That's stressful for the student, way more stressful than it needs to be. When I attended the meeting, because I got called in unaware, so can you come to this meeting? I show up, and it's this bullying person, her husband, yeah, shall we go with the word nepotism, working in the department, and me, and the student. And there were 3 chairs, and the student was asked to sit on the floor. And I'm like, I sat on the floor with her. Because I'm sorry, 3 adults in chairs and 1 student on the floor is severe. Oh yeah, and like in a room that was probably like 6.5 feet wide by 7 feet long with a desk. No, that's bullying. That's abusive. That's dominant power over. So I sat on the floor with the student in an attempt to rebalance the situation. There was no rebalancing this situation ever, which I figured out later. Then I just had to rebalance myself. Because when you are dealing with a situation that is so far out of balance and you try to work with that system, it's like walking in a house of mirrors. I don't know if anybody ever has those anymore, but you know, the crazy house at the carnival where nothing is straight and the walls lean and it just is crazy and fun, but crazy. And it's a game at the carnival, and that's cool. But if that happens to be your working environment, I would say time to eject and get somewhere else. It's because in attempting to work within a crazy system, it throws us off balance. Hi, Sharon. Great to see you. And when we get thrown off balance like that, and the very ground is crooked and moving, we really are at a disadvantage. And it's important to recognize this and try and step away. Now, sometimes it's a job that you need and you need the money and you can't step away right away. And so you need some really good self-care tools, some really good self-balancing tools, some ways to reset your system. And you need to recognize that you're going to have to reset it and reset it and reset it. Because every time you return to your own balance and harmony, when you are in a toxic environment, the people around you try to push you off again because your very balance points out to them their imbalance. And they don't want to admit their imbalance. And so they want everyone else off balance worse than they're off balance, so that they can feel in relation to everyone else that they have thrown off balance, that they are in better balance. Now, this situation that happened that I described with the poor student sitting on the ground and the adults in the room, on that same person's wall is a sign about how bad bullying is and to report bullying whenever you see it. Now, do you see how crazy making that is? Seriously crazy making. And much of what we're going through in these strange and interesting times is equally unfathomable, or however you say that word. Sometimes I add syllables. I told you English was not my first language. Hard to fathom. There. We just change the sentence structure. That's what my husband, who is a superior editor, says. If you can't make this work out, just change the sentence structure. Often it makes a better sentence anyway. So, the idea that real freedom and resilience is this ability to return to balance quickly, rather than being so rigid that you can't be knocked off balance. We might think that it would be nicer not to be knocked off balance. But trust me, I learned a lot going through that whole situation. I learned a whole heck of a lot that I would maybe wish I could have learned another way. But if I could have learned it another way, I would have probably learned it earlier than I learned it. So, on the scale of looking at things and putting things in balance, then I will say, glad to be out of there. Very glad to be out of there. And I am grateful for the things I learned because I will use them in future endeavors, sort of like this one. So, to rebalance yourself, it's good to know what feels imbalanced to yourself. But it's also interesting to know that if you have been, okay, say you get a pair of shoes and you wear outside edge of one heel down and you walk in those shoes for a really long time, they feel normal, but you are off balance and your foot is not working smoothly through all of the joints in the foot that need to articulate because you have this worn down shoe. And the worn down shoe keeps you leaning to the side. When you take the shoe off, you can rework your foot flat the normal way, just like it is. But if you put that shoe back on, then you go right back into that pattern. The tricky thing is because you're used to that pattern, unless you do some stuff in your bare feet, you're not going to notice that you kind of have created this kind of leaning pattern to the side. And you're going to get a new pair of shoes and you're going to try and start to break them in to the leaning pattern because when your shoes are normal, they and in balance and your foot is correctly moving to the floor or through the shoe and to the floor in its nice articulating manner, it's going to feel off balance because it doesn't feel normal. So this is the thing. We can be out of balance for such a long time that it starts to feel normal. And we think it's the right way to be. Now, other things that cause this can be looking at the computer screen too long. And we get a place where the chin is forward and we're used to going forward. And that starts to feel normal. The body gets a habit and it thinks that that's normal. Another one is a curve in the lower back, a kind of sway backness, which happens when the lower back is really mobile, and usually some other places are tight. Might be your shoulders and the thoracic, the upper part of your back is tight, and because that is tight, the lower back takes a deeper part of the curve in order to, ergonomics of the body. In order to compensate for the stiffness in the upper back, then the curve in the lower back extends in order to make up for that. So if you start to observe yourself, and as I said before, a big sign of imbalance is pain. So like when I wear down the side of my shoes, which I do, then what happens is I roll my ankle and that hurts pretty bad. Then I like whip off my shoes and I look at them. I'm like, well, doggone it. I wore down the heels again, the crooked way. And I either take them to the shoe repairman or I see how old they are and I maybe get a new pair of shoes. But pain is a signal. And so if our lower back is sore, then we need to look at the whole rest of the skeleton because it's all connected. And if we have an imbalance in one part, probably have an imbalance in another part. And so then when we find that, we can come back to ease. We can, if we have a skeletal imbalance, we can choose to go to a chiropractor, an osteopath, somebody to help us, massage therapist. A lot of times massage, getting the muscles to relax is just enough for the skeleton to shift itself back into alignment. Everybody's body is different, and depending on how long you've let it be out of balance can indicate how long you might need to take to get it back in balance. The same thing is true of your mind. If you have allowed your mind to blow up at every drop of the hat, shall we say, you drop a fork into the sink and it makes a loud noise and you yell and curse. You you forget to take your vitamins and you have a little angry fit and then your response to everything, no matter how big or small it is to kind of blow up. That becomes a mental habit. That's another sign of being out of balance. you have the kind of the same response to multiple different stimuli. That would be a place to look at and investigate with curiosity and gentleness and a kind of kind sense of humor to yourself. Like, really? I did that again? I can't believe that. I thought I had addressed that. Well, almost everything that we may have addressed, but we work in a spiral and we go around and around in our lives, and we pass the same people and we pass the same incidences. We don't go in just a circle round and round and round, but we learn things, we change, we grow, we develop, we meet new people, we have new experiences. So it's like a expanding outward spiral staircase that gets bigger and bigger. And so sometimes we will come by an incident that is like, great, Sharon. I'm glad to hear that the monthly chiropractor and massage are helping you keep yourself more in balance. And nightly meditation and relaxation practices never hurt. Those things never hurt. I like reflection and journaling also, just to see. I like journaling because sometimes I store things in my brain, and if I journal, I get them out. Then I keep them in books and think I'll use them someday for something, but who knows? But they aren't packed in my brain, taking up space. And I'm able to use the ideas when I need them. So there is this thing that we say sometimes here, the devil you know versus the devil you don't know. And the devil you know is your comfort level with whatever's going on. And so this can be the same thing. And you can have something, and you can go to the massage person or the chiropractor and they can work on you, and you can be actually more sore than you were when you went in, because the correction process is a healing process, and it sometimes requires breaking down old patterns, old habits, old muscular patterns, so that the new pattern can reassert itself, or not reassert itself, but so the new pattern can come to the front. Or if you had a previous healthy pattern that you replaced with something that wasn't so healthy, then the old healthier pattern can come back. So just because something is comfortable, okay, this is the difference between comfortable and at ease. Some people think, well, if I'm easy, I'm just like a couch potato. And really, to be easy in my vocabulary is present, aware, a kind of how when a car is idling and humming, that little engine is humming and ready to go. As soon as you put it in gear, decide if you're going to go forward or backwards or what direction you're going to go. That's what being at ease is for me. It's a calm, but sort of excited readiness for the next thing, for the next adventure, for what's coming next, with the idea that I can manage it, even if what comes at me is a huge wave of, and it knocks me off balance. I know I had the tools to get back on balance. And so sometimes I run towards the waves because I figure, let's see what's happening. And I can get back on. I know, even if I get knocked down and rolled in the sand and, tossed around, I have the tools to rebalance myself. So if you would like to learn some of those tools too, send me a message, personal message, and I will get back in touch with you. I think I kept saying I was going to put the 30 days of ease in the comments, and I think I kept forgetting because it's been late and I've been busy. And sometimes I mean to do something in Facebook and I don't Facebook has been kind of interesting. See, interesting is a good word. And not always pleasantly interesting. So I will put the link in there in case you want to do the 30 days of ease. It's really fun. A picture and a quote every day to inspire moments of ease in your life. And then I'll see you tomorrow. Should be day 217, if my counting is right. Thank you, Sharon and Mary, for stopping by. And go, Mary, for the yoga. That is excellent. So I will talk to you all tomorrow. And if you have any questions or thoughts, just drop them in the comments and I'll weave them into the talk tomorrow. Thanks a bunch.